Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sean's 2 Cents. And we're in the hot tub again. I'm proud to have from Doughboys, Mike Mitchell, and also Twisted Metal on Peacock.
That's right.
And Love on Netflix. You're all over the place. Your Wikipedia is great.
You're shouting out my credits. I love it.
I know. I try to remember. See, I do a lot of research before I was watching Love. I guess we'll talk about that. I was working with Judd Apatow, a great filmmaker.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's a comedy legend. It was great to do it. We had a lot of fun on that show. That show was filled with so many funny people. I love doing it. It was great. A great job. I wish Netflix would bring it back at some point. It would be awesome.
And also, you started with Gillian Jacobs, who's also another wrestling fan. Tell us about her and tell us about how you got discovered wrestling as your fandom.
She came to PWG back when it was in Reseda, I believe.
Yeah, I'm a Reseda guy too. Was there for my first was 2012, and I've been going since their move too.
Yeah. I did a couple shows in Reseda, like maybe 2 or 3 up there, and then. I don't miss the drive, but that place was special. It was great. But yeah, I watched WWE when I was younger and some WCW. And when I would get home late at night on Friday night, I would watch ECW. Saturday night? I think it was Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
In Boston, it was on like the Spanish language channel at like midnight or something. And I loved wrestling back then. And then when I got to college, I kind of fell off a little bit. I remember I watched the Rumble my senior year, and I picked Batista to win, and I won a pot. But I then when I was out here, my buddy Mike Carlson and a bunch of other people, Nick Weiger, who's my co-host on Doughboys, which by the way, we just ate a Jack in the Box burger. Is that a surprise, or can I tell them?
You can tell them because they'll watch this and they'll watch that.
It was funny, like the old thing of like you're supposed to wait a half an hour after you eat to get in the water.
Yeah, we were already in the water.
We broke it.
I don't know what the rule is when you're already eating in the water.
I think if you eat it in the water, it doesn't apply.
Yeah, it doesn't apply. We're not swimming. This is a sitting hot tub. We're not doing laps or anything Michael Phelps.
We're definitely not Michael Phelps. We're not. If anyone was confused, we're not Michael Phelps. I was so nervous to get some of my burger in the hot tub, and then I did see a piece of bun floating around a minute ago.
It happens. We just hose the filters off over there.
I think it will be fine.
We got a rubber ducky lifeguard over there. We're now just staring at the filter.
So I went to a few shows up there. Mike Carlson, Anise Ansari, some of those guys who had Justin Donaldson. I'll give them all shout outs. And Evan Susser. All those guys were going to those shows, and I went up there and saw like, was Ricochet there when I was still there? I forget who was there exactly. Maybe Ricochet just left.
Yeah.
But like Keith Lee and Riddle and all those guys were there, and I loved it. That got me back into wrestling, and I was watching it. So I don't even know when that was. Probably like 7 or 8 years ago when I started to go. And
I've been going since 2012 to PVG. That's what started the ride.
Yeah.
And I met my buddy Brendo. He's like, "Hey, you know this Doughboys podcast?" And I'm not a podcast guy. I used to listen to Keeping It Real on IGN.
Sure.
Jim David is awesome. But I don't have time for podcasts. I watch TV shows and movies. So
it's an IGN podcast. It's like a.
It was an IGN. I used to listen to it like way back in there, like
sure.
like 08, 09. Like I love movie news, and I used to go on ComingSoon.net.
Oh, yeah.
And see all the whoopies and stuff.
I was an Ain't It Cool guy back then.
Oh, Ain't It Cool was good too, yeah. But yeah, he was telling me, Doughboy podcast, meet these guys. And so we met, and then we've been friends since. And then I was like, hey, you want to come to Hot Tub and talk wrestling? You're like, yeah.
How can I turn it down? It's great here.
And then
I didn't know that you lived so far away from
I know, yeah. Bellflower is just a suburb of LA.
Yeah.
So it's 20 minutes, no traffic. But when there's traffic, if you're coming from the valley or anywhere,
you get an hour onto it.
It's an hour onto it, hour anywhere.
But you know what? I would drive any distance to be in the tub.
I appreciate it. So let's talk about one of my favorites, where I commentate sometimes, and I help out GCW. Talk about how you found about GCW and how you like the live shows, and how special is the UCC. And we can compare it to Reseda, because I think that's the closest we have to Reseda is the UCC.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I've only been to that venue just a few times, but I love it. And Joey was, when I was going to PWG, Joey was doing shows a bunch there. We had Joey on Doughboys, and he's awesome and crazy, and those shows are so awesome and fun. And yeah, just went a few times, and we've had a few wrestlers on the pod. We've had
you have Janela, and you had Johnny TV, or what, all his names.
Johnny TV.
When you get him in the hot tub, I've talked to him. He's like, "Oh, I can FaceTime you." No, we need you in it. And when we had Thunder Rosa, she just sat. I had Thunder Rosa in here. She sat on the edge. She didn't want to get in. They're like, her husband, like, we were pool cleaners. That hot tub doesn't look up to code for us. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know you guys were pool
I'm starting to
cleaners.
question myself. I jumped right in.
I appreciate the bravery. We try to keep it clean. This is the new office, the third one. We lived here since '89.
The button that flowed by, I assumed was from today.
Yeah. You know, my dad eats Teddy Grahams over here all the time.
Teddy Grahams they're good in the tub.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what happens. We just have a conversation that just flows. There's no script up here.
Well, I love the tub. You know what? If you don't get in the tub, you miss out.
This is the third hot tub, and this hot tub hasn't had many guests, so...
This is the third hot tub?
This is the third hot tub.
Wow.
The last one was a lemon, so they gave my dad like $1,000, and he got this one.
Oh,
so
lemon? They got lemon tubs?
Some hot tubs aren't good.
Yeah.
This is a hot springs spa, Plug Hot Springs. You talk about Joey Janela, and how much exposure has Janela gotten for wrestling to like a national audience? Like people love Janela, and I think people love Effie too. Cole Cabana. Tell about what's unique about those guys that brings a different fan base to wrestling.
I love Colt. Colt's been on Doughboys as well, and Excalibur too. Shout out to Excalibur.
Yeah.
I think those guys. I mean, like people who love wrestling, they're going to shows and they're seeing those guys do like monthly shows and stuff, and seeing them doing the real stuff, and in veterans halls and stuff like that. I think there's just a lot of respect, and I think that's what AEW is a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's people who respect wrestling. I know Carlson was like a big time WWE guy, and he doesn't watch anymore. He's just all AEW. I think that's the connection there. It's like people who love wrestling love those guys, and they love AEW, and they love GCW and stuff like that. So.
And I was thinking, you started out. Tell us about your start. Was at the UCB?
I started at the UCB.
Yeah, Upright Citizens Brigade. No people know Amy Poehler. And I was thinking, sketch comedy and wrestling is like the same, like two different things, but they're so similar.
Yeah.
You're working with a group of people to put on a 3-minute, 5-minute sketch or a match.
Sure, yeah.
Tell us about what the similarities are between sketch, comedy, and wrestling, and tell us about the UCB.
I think that UCB is very much a not athletic comedy version of PWG or something.
Yeah.
You see people who come up and have success. Honestly, at PWG, you're going to see so many of those men and women have gone on to huge fame and are wrestling on, on some of these TV shows and WWE and AEW and stuff like that. But it's the same thing. You got to love comedy to go up and make it your social life, which is I think what like Colt and Joey and all those guys do. They're wrestling every week. They're traveling every week, and we don't travel every week. Like Mike's Money's, it was like Friday night, get up and do sketches. Monday through Sunday, I'm at the theater doing stuff. That's where I met my sketch group. Was doing improv at that theater, and you love it, and so you're there all the time, and you're taking everything in, and you learn from there's a lot of funny people that you learn from, and guys who go on to do great things. And Kroll was there back in the day, and Neil Campbell and Paul Russ, who's on Love, they were like two of our mentors, the Birthday Boys. And yeah, there's a lot of crossover. One, in that it's like a crazy industry. You never know if you're gonna have any success in it, and there's a lot of late nights, and you stay up and you do shows for a few people. I think it's similar there. Where it's not similar, it's athletic prowess is much different. I think with sketch comedy. Not to say there aren't a few guys who were athletic that did it, but
more parallels, like you can call it SNL, the WWE, and you have all the indie sketch comedies. You come from the Groundlings and like Chicago and New York, and LA. You start there, and then you get called to the show, and you get there.
Sure, yeah.
And also, like improv is like calling it in the ring, and then sketch is you write it. That's more like the choreographed match you go over.
See, this guy knows wrestling more than me. That's great. I think that's a perfect analogy. I think it is the sort of thing where also what's happened in wrestling where it's like, oh, WWE is the main show. And I think for a lot of people, SNL was the main thing, and I showcased for it back in the day, and it's like what so many people want, you know what I mean? But then I think people now are like, that's not the only game in town, you know what I mean? Same with wrestling, you know what I mean? It's like SNL isn't the end-all be-all that it once was. A ton of talented and funny people go and do it, and I wish I did it, you know what I mean? But I think it's the same thing with WWE. It's like that used to be the spot, for so long, and now it's not the way anymore. Indie wrestling is just it's exploded, right, in the last like 15 years or so.
Definitely like DCW, AIW, AEW, so many companies. But back to sketch comedy, like you have SNL, then you have in the 90s, you had Match TV, In Living Color, Kids in the Hall, SCTV in the 80s. So what other sketch comedy shows you drew inspiration from that weren't SNL? Because I remember I used to love The Whitest Kids You Know.
Oh, yeah, I love those guys.
Trevor Moore, R.I.P., that's the dude. But yeah, what sketch comedies did you model? We watched what's the Birthday Boys before the podcast, before the web show. You don't call it a podcast, but it is a web show. But what did you try to model Birthday Boys after, and how was it working with Saul Goodman, aka Bob Odenkirk, who the Mr. Show, another sketch comedy show that's not SNL, but definitely is very influential into sketch comedy?
Well, that answers one of your questions. I think Mr. Show was like a big show for everybody in my group. I loved The State growing up. I loved like early 90s, like late 80s SNL, and I loved early Simpsons too. I mean, like seasons 3 through 8 of Simpsons are like, they're very, this sounds horrible, but very sketch-like in many ways. For us, I mean, there were so many people at the theater that went on to do like Bobby Moynihan and Casey Wilson and all these people that we were there that were either went on to do SNL or at least were auditioning for it. But yeah, Bob is a huge influence, and you know, I would want to say a huge part of the reason that we got the show. We were doing just like, you know, we would do shows every week, and then Bob's wife is a talent manager, and she came to one of our shows. This manager, Brooke Popjoy, saw us, and she's like, "I'm gonna get my boss," who was her boss at the time, to come out and see you guys. And she came and saw us, and then we got asked to do this show that they do every day on New Year's Eve day. It's called the Not Inappropriate Show. Okay. And it's made for like children and for adults. Like you're not supposed to be too dirty, obviously. Yeah. And there's the fun again. And then we did it there, and Bob sent a message to one of my sketch mates, Tim, and was like, "I really like the sketch, but I thought you should have done this." And then Tim wrote him back, and they had a relationship. And then from there, we did some shows with Bob, who's a genius. I mean, like he is, he's a sketch genius. He wrote the Matt Foley sketches. You know, he wrote. I Live in a Van Down by the River.
That is one of my favorite sketches of all time. And then we talked about, you said comedians aren't like physical, but what caused Chris Farley's addiction and stuff was all the physical, taking all the bumps.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of people. I mean,
there's physical comedians like Johnny Knoxville wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't lighting shit on fire.
Sure,
you do have the parallels again. Your deathmatch comedians, which mostly like a Bam Margera, a Johnny Knoxville, a Chris Farley.
There's this guy Josh Fadum and this guy Nathan Barnett. These guys Nathan, who's into wrestling. I don't know if you know Nathan. You should have him in the hot tub.
I might know faces. It's like LA is crazy. Like you go to a show and it's like he's an actor, he's a singer. Like different people, like writers. Yeah. So we're talking about. Like, I know Adam Jones. I'm in a Sorry Last Collective. I had Matt McCarthy in here. Yeah. Shout out Matt McCarthy. We're talking about the Conan O'Brien show. That's who like a lot of sketches on there.
Oh yeah.
And Conan O'Brien, just watching him.
You're again bringing up stuff I should bring up, but Conan, early Conan stuff was like that was like a huge gateway for me. I went to a taping of Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 1998 or 9. Okay. And the guest was Jimmy Fallon, his first year on SNL. That was one of the guests. Okay. And who else was there? Afghan Wigs, and then I forget the last guy, but it was great. And I was like, oh, you can do this for a living, you know what I mean? Like it was like such an eye-opening experience for me. And when I got to college, I went into writing. I'd been to like theater camps and stuff when I was younger, and I'd done like theater productions in like middle school and elementary school and stuff like that. But then I kind of dropped it, and that got me being like, oh, there's like a way where you can get into this world, basically. And that's what started it for me. And Conan and The Simpsons are probably my two biggest influences. I love those guys.
Definitely. Then back in the day, there was awards that Dave Letterman and Jay Leno, and Conan was.
Which side did you choose?
I know my grandparents watched Jay Leno, so I was into him. I never got into Dave Letterman until I was later. But what were you?
You liked the Dancing Itos? That was
I liked Headlines with Jay Leno. That always popped me. It's stupid, but Headlines is funny headlines.
I'll say this: I watched Conan, so I just always would have Leno on.
Yeah.
And then later watched Letterman, but Letterman is like the cooler answer. I think Leno is not
Yeah, now it hasn't.
I'm embarrassed to admit, but I started on Leno too. I was right there.
It haven't aged very well. Now I'm embarrassed. Like, I watched Leno, but then once you see what he did to Conan, you're like, this dude just loves cars, and he actually started himself on fire.
Can we blame him? His love of cars.
He loves cars.
He loves cars.
And he has a big chin. So, but
he still performs.
They were saying that. I haven't watched it, but Fallon had Conan on his show this week, and they're saying you can tell Conan outshines him as an interviewer.
Sure.
Like, he's the guest, but he outshines the host.
Yeah, I mean...
What do you think about Jimmy Fallon as a host? Do you think he's as fake as people says he is? And a hard-hitting questions.
Is he as what?
Is he fake? Do you think he is good? Because people, there's all I hate for James Corden or Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, people hate on Corden. I did Corden's show, and he was kind to me.
Nice.
So I came out as a character on the show, and he was very nice to me.
Okay.
Yeah, you hear people shitting on those two quite a bit.
Yeah, so I was like, what's your opinion on that? Not to get you heat, but like we watch it.
Give me fucking Fallon heat, man.
No, we don't need Fallon heat. But yeah, like it seems like
challenge me to a drinking contest. I think that Fallon is obviously he's a funny guy to get into that position. I'm being very diplomatic here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think that I think you got to be a little bit fake.
Yeah.
When you're doing a talk show, right? There's a part where you have to be like, hey, so what's this project? I mean, there's so much stuff that's pre-scripted.
Yeah.
But does Fallon's show appeal to me? No.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in watching his late night show, but I don't really watch any of them anymore. Like Conan was kind of a so Conan and when Letterman was going out, that's what I was watching.
Basically, what I get to late night comedy, I think it's kind of like.
Do you want me to go less diplomatic?
No, it's fine.
Fuck Jimmy Fallon.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But the state of late night comedy and basically NSNL they're just stale. Like Jimmy Kimmel's funny here and there, but I barely watch Jimmy Kimmel anymore. And I don't know who can save it. They've tried Lily Singh. They even brought back At Midnight, which I was with At Midnight taping. Chris Hardwick's great.
Yeah.
At Midnight's fun. But what do you think?
I was on At Midnight a couple times. I don't know. I don't know if the world's moved past late night comedy in the last the numbers of it's this sort of thing of when people are watching Johnny Carson, there was people watching Johnny Carson on average is more than anyone watches any TV show now, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel things have splintered. There's so much stuff to choose from streaming and YouTube or whatever. I just feel like late night shows don't hold the same cachet they used to. I think people still go on them.
Yeah.
I just feel like
I think their clips on YouTube do better than the ratings on their show.
I think people are watching Office reruns at night. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's happening now. So
basically, I think now we can talk about what's pivot into streaming.
Cachet. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you know what? Blame anything on the dizziness from the hot tub.
No worries. They say only be in 10 to 15 minutes, but we go in longer. It's like Hot Ones, but with the hot tub.
It is like Hot Ones.
And let's talk about
which one would my heart stop on first? This or
let's talk about you're on the cock, I call it. Twisted Metal. We played that as kids. And
why hasn't Peacock picked that up yet? Why haven't they said the cock? I don't know why they haven't done it.
I tell my friends, hey, watching on the cock. My sister said, stop saying that. But it's a catchy name, man. But Twisted Metal, and I was watching it, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I recognize that guy. At first, I think you get this a lot. You get confused with the dude from Letterkenny a lot.
You're the first. I think you might be the first one telling me that. But
you're like, he's got a beard, he's a little chubby, but you're not Canadian.
He's a funny guy.
He's a funny dude.
It's
Trevor, I think his name is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a compliment to me, but no, I think a lot of the big guys get confused in our world for sure.
Even I get confused over big dudes.
Yeah, they're probably going to think you're on Twisted Metal. But you know what? Take the credit, run with it, I say.
But let's talk about Twisted Metal, and definitely, you guys were kind of the comic relief doing the friends that get involved. You guys were
Samoa Joe and I.
Yes.
Well, Samoa Joe is also terrifying, of course.
Oh, yeah, how was it working with Samoa Joe and being a wrestling fan? Did you mark out, or you were trying to keep it in? But how is he working with him? Seems like a great dude.
He's a great guy. Like I said, I got back into it 8 years ago, and so I think that I'm the level of fan that probably only slightly annoys Joe, where I'm just like, what's that? What happened with that thing? I'll ask him that, and he'll be like, ugh. And then he was like, one day we'll go out eating, and he and I went out eating, and it was fucking awesome.
Nice.
We just ate and drank for a day, and he's the man. I mean, Joe is the man. I think everybody loves Joe. When I was on set, I've said this before, but he just so easily toss me around. I'm a big guy, so it was nice to like feel like a little kid. You know what I mean? Like he would grab me and whip me my character around, and it was nice to feel like I could be moved like that again. You know, I felt like a little kid. It was great. He's extremely strong, extremely cool. I love hanging out with him, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. So.
And how'd you like the reception to the show, and how was it working with Anthony Mackie and all and the a great cast?
Yeah, the cast is awesome. Stephanie Beatrice fucking rules. She's awesome. Mackie was a great guy. He'd come out and he'd hang out with us, and he'd buy like food and drinks for everybody.
The new Captain America.
The new Captain America. We're waiting for him, I think, to finish that up to go shoot the second season. He's awesome. He's a great guy. I mean, the cast was. I was lucky to be a part of the cast.
I'm breaking on the crazy con. Who was that?
Oh my God! Now
I know. We're it's all improv, not scripted, so we forget things. But he's great.
He's so mad at me.
He's great.
I'm telling you, it's a fucking hot tub.
Yeah, it's a hot tub.
He was great too. From Sideways, and his name is
Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church, the Sandman.
The Sandman, definitely not. He doesn't drink beers. He fights Spider-Man.
I can't believe I forgot Thomas Hayden Church.
Me too. I forgot him first.
Don't watch this, Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm sad. Oh well.
Don't worry, nobody's watching this.
Hey. We get some viewers.
Thomas Hayden Church was the man, and I only worked with him for like the first couple of days. I was like, I'm gonna spend a lot of time with Thomas Hayden Church, and I was like, oh wait, I'm like not much else with him, you know. And then he's just a genius, and he does stuff that he thinks is good, and goes and does it, and then he goes back to Texas, I think. You know, he's an incredible actor. He should have been nominated for Sideways, as should Paul Giamatti, who now finally pops in my head.
Isn't it crazy how he started on Wings?
He started on Wings. He's great on Wings.
Yeah, I used to start.
He's great as a Sandman too. He fucking rules.
I started binging classic shows, and like Wings, I think is an underrated show. Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, Wings is an underrated food too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like perfectly rated.
Let's do the boneless bone-in debate. I'm a boneless guy. What are you, bone-in or boneless?
People get so mad at me. In Quincy, there's a lot of great boneless wings, but I think a lot of people are bone-in. There's boneless skeptics all over the world. I like it.
I don't like an obstacle in front of my food. I don't want to fear of choking.
Sure, that's great. I mean,
I ain't trying to get a blowjob, so I'm not doing it.
Son, I don't know how you eat the wings, but I want to see it now. You eat a wing like this?
Start deep throating it.
Yeah, I think that it depends on the wing place, but if it's really good wings, I think you want bone-in.
Yeah. And it's the only option I'll get. But Wingstop, we discovered, watching Mania Night 1, boneless is cheaper than bone-in.
Yeah.
So we had to order boneless.
Probably less real chicken, possibly.
Which, by the way, the camera guy was like, no bone-in, I got to order boneless.
I'm going to say this. We filmed all of Twisted Metal in New Orleans. And being in the hot tub for this song, I feel like I'm back in New Orleans. It's fucking
Speaking of New Orleans, did you have gator? I want to try gator. Did you get to try gator over there?
I did. I ate some gator. It was it's good. It's good. You feel bad eating gator, especially if you go on like a swamp tour. They just seem. They bring them up into the boat and they feed them chicken. And
it's like I told him I was going to see him later, but then I ate him. It was a stupid joke, but I thought about it.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to Samoa Joe, because he was acting out everything before they replaced his voice with Will Arnett.
Okay.
And he was so funny and so good, and it was like the guy that was going to get dubbed over was like so on top of everything the entire time. He's such a good actor, and I can't wait to hang out with him again for another year. In July. While
you're wrapping, you grew up in Boston, so what I do a Boston accent. Want to read mine?
I'd love to hear your Boston accent.
I'll get the car case, got a Fenway, have some beers.
It sounded like you said have some gators.
Have gators.
So it sounds like maybe it was like
you want to go to a Sox game? You see the Affleck's new movie, The Town?
What am I rating this out of? Is the question.
I don't know. 1 to Affleck.
I gotta give it from 1 to Affleck. I'll give you a Casey Affleck.
Casey Affleck, okay. So you've been in here a long time. I don't know the time, but
yeah.
We okay. Let's wrap it up. We're getting hot in here. Let's talk about Doughboys.
Yeah.
Tell us about that podcast and where can people find it. And what do you guys talk about? You talk about food, which is always my thing.
We talk about fast food and chain restaurants. We've been doing it for 9 years. We should probably stop. It's been a journey. I've gotten bigger and bigger. We have new episodes released every Thursday.
Okay.
My co-host Nick Weiger and I. We've had a bunch of people in the wrestling world on, so give it a listen if those episodes interest you, or just listen to anything. If you see a funny person on there, we've had a lot of great guests.
And we can do the Doughboys in the hot tub one day.
I love it. I would love to have Weiger down here.
Yeah, Doughboys in the hot tub.
Doughboys in the tub would be great.
Yeah, so plug all the social media for you and
Doughboys
the boys.
podcast. If you look on Apple Podcasts and you search Doughboys, you'll find it there. We have a double called the Doughboys Double that's on Patreon.
Okay.
For $5 a month, you can get a bunch of extra stuff. My name's Mitch on Instagram and BDayBoys Mitch on Twitter. Though I might have to change that handle after today. We're having problems finding it.
No worries.
I'm just stupid.
No, you're not. Yeah,
I kind of am.
Is there any other questions? Did we skip anything?
I think we did it all. So
Yeah.
thanks for being in. It's been a pleasure. So he's my Mitchell. I'm the Sean's 2 cents or Sean. RealComExpert.com. Hogan Chorora. I don't know if I pronounced that right on Twitter as the camera guy. Smoke some Real Kind Meds and go to GCW on 420. I'm going to be doing interviews with Grim Reaper, the Stoner Brothers, and that man, Ruckus. I hope to see Mike there too. We're going to get high as fuck.
Uh-oh.
Peace.
See ya.